All right, guys. So let's dive into these, I like to say the negative 3 Ps that most people tie their purpose to. And I'm going to use examples in my own life to show you these things and how we can actually like talk ourselves out of the position. And let me talk about that for a second. What most people are after is not purpose, they're after placement. And we're going to talk about that at the end of this. Like, I'm going to say remind me, like you guys can actually remind me. I'm telling my team to remind me at the end of this to talk about placement, because what most people are searching for is not purpose, they're searching for placement. It's meaning that, like, okay, I get it, Trent, I'm purpose, like, but where can my life be used most effectively? As crazy as it sounds for me to say this right now, because some of y'all are going to be like, Trent, no, this is your purpose. Rehab time is not my purpose, because I can lose rehab time. Being a motivational speaker, transformational coach, whatever title they want to give me, I don't feel like that is my purpose. Again, I believe it's my placement. It's where my life is right now. It's where my life can be used most effectively. It's where my life can be used, bring the most value to other people. And so rehab time is my placement. Being a transformational coach is my placement. The NFL at a point in my life was a placement. So we're going to go through different placements in our life. And the more we understand that we are purpose, that you are purpose, when you get into these placements, you can use your life to be most effective. And so when you get into that job that you might not like, you might not think that there's value, but guess what? You can bring value to it. How many of you know a janitor that maybe worked at your school? And a janitor is a job that most people look down upon because it's not tied to these 3 things we're about to talk about. But how many of you know a janitor, somebody that you know has worked a job that maybe didn't seem sexy, right, to the world? Like, it's not the sexy job. It's not the, suit and tie. It's not the job that's praised, but it's the job that's needed. Maybe it's a sanitary worker. Maybe it's a post office. Maybe it's a post office worker. Maybe it's even a teacher, which I think teachers are heroes. But how many of you know someone that has affected your life in a major way that had a job that might not have looked sexy to the world? I remember this bus driver, probably 7th grade. That's when I was riding the bus to school in middle school. And I remember this bus driver. And the bus driver, every single day with every kid, he would say something positive. And he was cool. Like, for me, he was like, man, nice shoes, man, you looking fly today. Like, and he didn't realize, and he would actually speak into our lives a bit. Like with sports, he would, talk different things and just speak inspiration and motivation. And to him, I don't know if he ever knew it or not, but he was really bringing value to my life. He was bringing value to other kids' life. And we love, like, when we had a substitute bus driver, like, we were mad. We like, we don't want her. Like, where's such and such? And so for me, that job of being a bus driver, right, for most people wouldn't be something that most people want to do. But he was affecting lives in a major way. And he definitely planted seeds in my life to have me do what I do today. So even the little bit of sprinkled seeds that he placed in my life, now I'm impacting millions of people across the world. I don't know if he knows this or not, but just that little bit of impact that he gave us turned into major impact down the line. And that's how a lot of times it works. Maybe you know somebody worked at your school, like I said, that is the person. I know cafeteria workers, the lunch ladies that I love. I had one at Baylor that literally shook me up with Chick-fil-A, like, shout out to you. But she always would talk about the football game. She would give me Chick-fil-A. She would say, just nice things to me, and it would really uplift my day. And it just showed me in those moments that literally you could really bring light to any situation that you're in. So just think about that. So what do people usually tie their purpose to, okay, to make this their purpose? And this is where people make mistakes all the time. Number one is, any order, but number one is most people tie their purpose to profit, okay? If I'm not becoming rich, then this can't be for my life. How many of us thought like that before, right? If this is not making me a lot of money, this cannot be meant for my life. And there's so many people, listen to me, there's so many people that never pursue, I'm gonna use the word purpose, right? They never pursue the thing or purpose or thing that's meant for their life because they're too busy chasing profit. And they just don't know if they would have just stepped into that role, right? That was like the gateway to something bigger. But they're so searching for, and I'm not telling you to accept less than your worth or anything like that. But if there's a calling on your life, you feel like, man, like I feel like a strong calling to this placement, like it's pulling on my heart, it's tugging on me. Don't ignore that calling because it doesn't pay you enough. Don't ignore that calling because you can't make 7 figures or 6 figures from that job, from that position. RehabTime is a perfect example. Like, I know y'all know the story, but I don't know if y'all know this part of the story. When I started RehabTime, I was broke, like dead broke. I'm talking about like $200 in my bank account broke. You know, maybe probably less than that, $100 in my bank account. And I had a son to provide for. Me and Maria, we weren't married at the time, but we were together. We had rent, all these things to provide for. And I was still trying to hang on to football. And the reason I was trying to hang on to football is because football had some sort of profit, even though it was arena football. We were getting paid like $10 to get flipped over into some concrete. Like, shout out to the arena. Well, arena's folded now. It needs to be folded. It's the craziest game ever. But I had to realize, like, man, like, this is how I'm getting paid. So I had a choice. It's like, okay, do I go pursue RehabTime, even though there's, like, I feel like this euphoric feeling in me doing it. Like, it's hard to explain, but you know, like, when you just know something is it. I don't know if you ever felt like that, but you just know it. It's just it. And I felt that power, but I kept running from it because it didn't have profit. I wasn't getting paid to speak, and I got to pay bills. Like, let's be real about it. Like, some of you might be saying, Trent, I hear all that, but I got bills to pay. And I had bills to pay. I had to, you know, I had mouths to feed, people to provide for. And I kid you not, to make a long story short, is that once I said, you know what, I'm not going to ignore this power that's calling me. I'm not going to ignore the connection that I feel, and I'm going to walk into this because I just know that this is the placement for my life right now, and this is the quote-unquote purpose for my life, even though none of the signs added up to it, right? None of the, you know, all the things just added up to the one thing, like, oh, this is it, right? It wasn't like I had significance. It wasn't like people were watching my videos at that time. It wasn't like I got some magical sign from God at the time, to be real with you. I just felt such a power and connection and confidence, even in my most fearful times. So when I would go speak on stage, I still felt confident, even though I was afraid to speak, if that makes sense. So I didn't ignore that, and I walked into it. Fast forward, 11 years later, now, I get paid to speak. Now, I get paid to write books. All these things, like the profit part came. But if I was focused on the profit, my point is, if I was focused on making money, if I was focused on that part, I would have never have walked into what I do now. I would have never been Mr. RehabTime. We're affecting millions of lives. So my question to you right now is, are you allowing profit to keep you in a place? Now, be smart. I don't know everybody's circumstances and situations, but are you allowing profit to keep you in a place that you're unfulfilled, that you know isn't right? Are you making up that this is your purpose because it's good financially? Like I said, so many times we run from our calling because it doesn't add up to the world's view of success. So the first thing people make the mistake of, and I see it so often, is they tie purpose to profit, okay? Mistake number one. The second thing that people make the mistake of tying purpose to, is position, okay? What that means is that I don't have the title. The title isn't sexy. The title isn't powerful enough. And this is what I feel about titles. I think like title, it doesn't matter what title you have. You can literally, be an employee but operate like a CEO. And if I'm a person that's working, I'm always going to be like that. Like, I was never the team captain of my football teams, ever. I never got voted as team captain for whatever reason, but you know what? I always operated like I was the captain. I always operated in that leadership because the title will never define my life. Titles shouldn't define your life. What should define your life is your work ethic. What should define your life is how you show up. What should define your life is your energy towards the situation. And there's people that literally, you can research this stuff. There's people who have started at the bottom, right? At the bottom, and work their way to the CEO standpoint. Go research. Just go Google. Like, if you don't believe me, go Google this. There's people who started off at the bottom because they knew that position and title wasn't going to define their grind, wasn't going to define the power that they felt in that situation. But so many times we say, oh, that's not for me because the title isn't cool. That's not for me because the job isn't cool. Or that isn't for me because, I'm at a lower rank, so I'm not going to do this because my significance, right, is tied to my titles. And that's a dangerous place to be, because now you're allowing something outside of you to define everything inside of you. So the second mistake people make is they tie their purpose to their position. Okay, you make the position. The position don't make you. Okay, you make the title. The title don't make you. Get that. Third thing people tie their purpose to, that's wrong, is prize. Right? It's prize. And this is the thing, man. This is a side note. So many people want the prize without paying the price. So many people want, like, they look out and they see it. Like, I've seen it even from football. Like, so many people, I want to make it to the NFL, I want to make it to the NFL, but they ain't willing to put in the work that it takes to make it to the NFL. I tell my son Tristan all the time, I say, you know what? Right now you have about a high school, that's it, work ethic. And he kind of gets down a little bit, but I'm like, I'm for real. I'm going to be real with you. Like, you want the NFL, but you don't want to pay the price. Like, if you ain't up every single day working on it, then it really don't mean that much to you. And there's so many people in the world that want the prize. They want the stage without the sacrifice. You know, I see speakers all the time. Trent, I want to be a speaker like you. Okay, cool. For 5 years, put out videos. For 5 years, be consistent over and over and over and over and over again. Put in the work. Go speak to schools, elementary schools. Go do your own tour where you go to 32 cities and you meet and greet every single person. Like, go do all these things. And when I tell people the process, guess what? Their hunger goes out the window. Just speaking reality to you, and I know this is like not what y'all asked for today, but I'm going to bring it to you anyway. Maybe somebody needs it. To speak reality to you, most people don't want it. They want what comes with it. They want the shiny things. They want the profit. They want the position. They want the prize. They want the recognition. They want people to pat them on their back. All right, that's what they want. And my question to you right now is this. This is a good indicator if you're doing something you truly love. Like, if you wouldn't get none of that, if you wouldn't get the profit, if you wouldn't get the position or the prize, would you still do it? If you had to work for free, would you still do it? If you never got a blue check by your name on social media that people care so much about, would you still do it? If you never got any awards, would you still do it? And even for myself, like, I feel I'm underrated like a mug. I ain't got no awards from nobody. I ain't got no award for best speaker or this or that. And nor do I care. I don't care about awards. My grind, my work ethic isn't defined by awards. What I care about is impacting lives. So ask yourself this question, like, do you really care about it? Or do you care about the things that come with it? Because that's going to get exposed. Because when those things don't show up, my question right now to you, I know I'm asking you a lot of questions, but you got to answer these questions because this is for you. And I know I'm getting passionate. I done turned up the knob a little bit, but this means so much to me because I see so many people fall victim to this. But if those things don't show up, are you still going to show up, is my question. Are you going to move on to your next purpose? That wasn't my purpose because I didn't have these 3 things. So, okay, let me move to something else. And those things didn't show up. Okay, I didn't have profit or position or prize or nobody's recognized me. Okay, it's not my purpose. Let me move to something else. And you spend your whole life moving to something else. Your whole entire life, moving to something else. And I'm not telling you not to progress. Like, don't take this out of context. But so many people, they're searching for those things. That's why they're never consistent at certain stuff. Because they're searching for these 3 things. And these 3 things will kill, right, your impact. Would you do it for free? Would you do it if you wouldn't get recognition from it? Would you do it if the position wasn't at the top? Would you do it? And if your answer is yes, then more than likely you're doing something that's meant for your life. More than likely you found that placement. Or if your answer is no, then your purpose, quote unquote, is tied to the wrong things. You're in it for man's recognition. You're in it for the things that fade. And when those things fade, your hunger is probably going to be faded with it. And so if I never got celebrated by man, and listen, I understand when people say good job and stuff like that, it lets you know you're doing something right. Like, don't be so out of context with this. But if I never got celebrated by the world, I would be okay with it. Because I know I'm going to be celebrated by God. And the reward that I'm after is eternal. You know, I want to get to the pearly gates and talk to God, and God says, you know what, Trent, you did a job well done. I know you can get the recognition that you needed here, but you were doing it for something bigger. Do you want to be celebrated by the world or celebrated by God? Answer that question truthfully. Because when you're focused on being celebrated by God, you're in the right mindset. And you're going to stay in a centeredness in your life that one will bring you peace. And one will probably bring you all these other things too. Those other things will come later on. But if you're living for the world, then you're going to die. If you live for the world's approval, you're going to die by the world's approval. If you live for I always say this, if you're living for the crowd's cheers, right, and that excites you, then guess what? The crowd's boos is going to tear you apart. If you're living for man's approval, then guess what? Man's disapproval is going to tear you apart. That's why I never let the highs get me too high. Never let the praises get me too high. Because I'm not living for that. Because if you let the praises get you too high, then guess what? You're going to let the lows get you too low. I learned that with football. You know, I had fans when I was playing at Baylor. Like, it was great. I would run out there, people would scream and yell and do all these things. People would be happy. People would be cheerful. Like, people would like dap me up around campus. Like, I love you, Trent. Like, you don't understand like who you are. You're so inspirational to my life. And I'm literally just catching footballs, by the way, being inspirational. But the thing that I realized is that once I stopped doing what they wanted me to do, right? Once I stopped pleasing them and giving them the thing that fulfilled them, I was no longer important to them. Ain't nobody hit me up. I mean, it might be once in a blue moon where someone says, oh, I see you at RehabTime now. When you played at Baylor, you really impacted my life. So the point I'm trying to make is that times will change. Recognition will fade, position will change, profit will change. But when you disconnect your purpose from those things, what stays the same? Your passion, your hunger to be the greatest version of yourself.